Welcome to Know Your Balls podcast, a podcast where you got to know your balls. You got to know what you're talking about with sports. And today we're back with another one. Carr-Gloth, Robbie Williams. Robbie, good to see you. Still repping those Motown Tigers.
Always, man. I've been wearing this hat pretty much every day of my life for a while. So
Right out of the womb, right there, day one, all day.
pretty much, yeah.
Hey, again, we got our Tigers update. They're still lagging behind a little bit, but
They're lagging more than they've been lagging. They're on a big lag
they're
right
on a
now.
special lag.
Yeah, they were getting a little hot for a second, and then I guess they decided to jump in a pool or something. I don't know.
Do we have any Detroit teams that are like killing it right now?
I want to talk about it.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
want to talk about it. Well,
All
I mean,
right.
I'm really loving the way the Lions are looking, but that's not a good day when the Lions are your best hope for a winning season next
Yikes.
year.
Yes, I'm kind of sorry I brought it up. Better days are ahead, though, Robbie. We got some. Speaking of the Detroit Lions, we have some stuff to talk about in the NFL because again, it is the 365-day-a-year news machine. The Madden cover is out, Madden 22. We got a couple of all-time greats on there, and Tom Brady has made headlines for numerous things. Also, we have Carl Nassib becoming the first active NFL player to come out as gay. We'll touch on that. And then the NBA, some head coaching decisions have been made in the last few days. Scott Brooks is out in Washington. The Mavericks have made a bunch of changes to their general manager position and their head coaching position. Very stable organization making some moves. Stan Van Gundy, he's out in New Orleans. Big trade between Boston and Oklahoma City. We'll touch on that. Kemba Walker, Al Horford, they're included in that deal. And then the Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals are upon us. We'll touch on those series and the injuries and the notable players out, especially in the Western Conference finals. We're talking about Kawhi Leonard and Chris Paul, both out for different injuries and reasons. Before we get out to all of that, got to give a big thank you to Tell ABQ and all the great people in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Download the Tell ABQ app. You can listen to this podcast, Know Your Balls, under the podcast section, and all the other Tonique podcasts. So again, big shout out to Tell ABQ. Let's start with the National Football League, Robbie, where we've got the Madden cover dropping. It was dubbed the GOAT version, Madden 22, featuring Kansas City's Patrick Mahomes and Tampa Bay's Tom Brady. Still weird to say that, by the way. It is the first cover since Madden 10 to have two players featured on the cover. Both of these players have been on the cover before. Brady was on the cover in 2018, and Mahomes recently in 2020 was on the cover. So, I mean, what do you think of this two GOAT version? I mean, it's quite something. I think we'll look back on. We have like a young potential future Hall of Famer and maybe the greatest ever.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea, but also it's interesting because I don't think I've ever seen, a cover athlete repeated so quickly, especially two cover athletes repeated within, 3 years. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Another interesting thing about Madden 22 is supposedly they are incorporating those Amazon next gen stats they're always talking about in between games.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually incorporating that into the rating system for the players and relying less on the Madden scouts. That's how they used to do it. They'd actually send, just like to a high school game when you're looking for draft picks or something.
Yeah.
Just send them out there, look at what they can do, and kind of give them your rating. Now they're actually incorporating their stats, so that'll be really interesting to see how that affects the gameplay of that franchise.
Something that I think is going to be interesting when we look back on this is because I do think Patrick Mahomes has that Hall of Fame potential, right? And Brady will be in there. So I think that'll be interesting to see two Hall of Fame quarterbacks when it's all said and done on one cover. And also, when I think of Tom Brady, I think of the New England Patriots, right? 20 years there, 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots. Now, more and more, it's like we're bringing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers side of his career, which is obviously a very small slice of it when you compare it to his New England days. Now we saw him winning a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. That's obviously going to be remembered forever. And now we're going to see Brady with the Buccaneers on a Madden cover. So it's like, it's similar to Peyton Manning, how, he spent all of his career with the Colts, but there's definitely some concrete memories we have of him with the Broncos, which is a small slice of his career when comparing it to the rest. So I think that's going to be really interesting. Like, there are going to be some concrete memories of people remembering him with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So
Yeah, it's almost getting normalized the longer this goes on with him, especially with the success he's having on this new team.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, though, I really enjoyed Peyton Manning losing his second Super Bowl to Seattle. I'll never forget. I didn't like that team that year for some reason, and that opening play with the fumble into the end zone. And then they lost like 40 something to 7, I think.
Yeah, it was
I
like
like Peyton
43 to
Manning, but
8.
for some reason that year I didn't, and I'll never forget that. That's one of my most memorable Super Bowls because I love the Seattle Seahawks. But anyways, I had to get that off my system.
Our guy Jacob appreciates it. So speaking of Tom Brady, though, he's made headlines for a couple of different reasons. Number one, he said 45 was the age he wanted to reach, and that was his goal. This year he's going to be 44, so next year he'll be 45. He said, even pushing it to 50 is maybe a little bit long for him. So, maybe we're closer to the end than we think with Brady. But also, in a preview for The Barbershop, which is a show that is hosted and produced by LeBron James, and he has athletes and other famous people in talking about stuff. And just in the preview, Brady was talking about how there was one team that wasn't interested, and Brady was like, "You're sticking with that MFer? Like, really?" And so he even at this stage of the season and the news cycle, he's still making headlines. I'm obviously very curious to know which team and which quarterback he was referring to.
Yeah, it's it's like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? I don't know if we'll ever know the answer to that question.
Wow, what an unbelievable analogy, Robbie. That was incredible.
I can be pretty quick with them sometimes.
Better than your jokes, I'll say that. So we have that Tom Brady making some headlines there. Also, though, the biggest news from yesterday, really, again, it's just because we're in June here. Carl Nassib of the Las Vegas Raiders coming out as gay. He's the first active NFL player to come out as gay. I know a number of years ago we had Michael Sam, who was on the then St. Louis Rams. I believe, though, he wasn't on the actual roster. I think he had been drafted, and I think didn't make the team out of the preseason. So I think this is what counts it as the first active player. Kudos to him. He was a Cleveland Brown. He was in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was in the Raiders. I personally don't care whether he's gay or not. He's just a cool guy. And if you will, Robbie, indulge me for a second. Back during the Browns 0-16 season. Oh, sorry, my dog's making some noises in the background. Back in the 0-16 season, the Browns season, it was terrible. It was awful. My dad and I went to a game late December in Chicago, and the Browns obviously lost because they didn't win a game that year. And I was the only Browns fan in my section. And Carl Nassib, who was on the Browns, he tossed this glove to me. His glove, it's a real piece of NFL equipment, 3XL. It's a big glove. Dude's got a huge hand. And it just made my day. Even though the Browns lost, it made my year. Just a really cool guy. It was a really small thing, and I was just the kid in a Browns jersey, and he threw his glove to me, and for that I'll always be a fan of his. Obviously, I support him in being open about who he is, and He made a 100,000 donation to the Trevor Project, I believe, which is dealing with suicide prevention in the LGBTQ community. So all respect and praise to Carl Nassib. Really cool guy, really cool dude, and I'll always have something to remember him by. So, shout out to Carl Nassib.
Yeah, no, he seems like a really chill guy. I liked his his video. The way he said it, he said something along the lines of, I don't really want a lot of attention for this, like, but I feel like it's my obligation as a part of the community to be visible as who I am. And, I just liked how he put that where he was very like you said earlier, you don't care if he's gay or not. You just like watching football, and he likes playing football, and let's all just play football. And he was like, I can't wait for the day where people don't have to come out and just have this conversation and like let people know, where it's just more, it's so accepted, it's not even a big deal to announce it. So that's a nice thought.
Yeah, I completely agree. Really, really well done. Again, big ups to Carl Nassib. He's a cool guy, and I'll have a fan in his corner. He also had he was before this, obviously. He was well known. Actually, he was on the Browns the year they were on Hard Knocks, and there was like a financial session that he had with like the team to try to like teach players how to invest their money, and it was like really confusing and really complicated. So it was if you haven't seen it already, I recommend it. It's really funny, and it was really complex, and I don't think anyone can understand it. So yeah, he was known for that even before this. So again, big shout out to Carl Nassib. To the NBA, we have a few head coaching changes, and Robbie, I'll just list them real quick, and I'll let you touch on whichever one you want to start with. We have Scott Brooks out in Washington. His contract was not renewed. Rick Carlisle stepping down as the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. He was there for 13 years, won the NBA championship in 2011. And also their general manager of nearly 2 decades, Donnie Nelson, is not there anymore. Dirk Nowitzki is actually going to be joining the franchise as a special advisor who's going to help with the process. And then after just one season, Stan Van Gundy is out with the Pelicans. This is going to end up being Zion Williamson's third head coach in 3 years. So, Robbie, I'll let you start, whichever head coach you want to talk about.
Well, first I would say like the Pelicans, 3 coaches in 3 years. That's never good. That's just makes it very hard to develop, some team chemistry there. And that's I'm not gonna say Stan Van Gundy was like the best coach and that he deserved to keep his job. I'm not gonna go that far, but it's just that's a rough string of coaches there. And you're kind of forcing yourself to start from scratch every time. With building relationships with players and developing a strategy and everything. So that's that's not very good for the Pelicans. But and then Rick Carlisle, I'm just surprised at all these major moves the Mavs are making because it's not like I don't think they failed that epically, to warrant such 2 big moves. But also maybe that's why they're just such a consistently good team, because they don't wait for things for wounds to fester, and they fix the problem. So, I can't argue with the Dallas Mavericks organization. They obviously know what they're doing over there. But the whole Scott Brooks situation, that doesn't surprise me at all, because I think most people expected the Wizards to do a little bit better than barely making the playoffs and going out. They made it to the
They made it to the first round, right?
Yeah.
They lost in 5. They lost in 5 to Philadelphia.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll start with where you started. Stan Van Gundy. I really like New Orleans general manager Dave Griffin. He was the guy who built the 2016 Cavs championship team, so I'll always love him for that. I always thought he was a really good executive. But I was scratching my head a little bit when Stan Van Gundy was hired with New Orleans. It never really seemed like a good fit to me, especially the Pelicans. The Pelicans have some veterans, but most of their best players are really young. Brandon Ingram was an all-star before Stan Van Gundy got there. Obviously, Zion Williamson is an all-star this year and is a future face of this league. You got Lonzo Ball, you got Josh Hart, all that. So it never really seemed to fit. Van Gundy's been coaching for a while. He coached those Dwight Howard teams with Orlando. He was a head coach and executive with the Pistons for a time. I never really saw this as fitting. It seemed like he had transitioned to his post-coaching life well. He was broadcasting on TNT. So I was surprised. And all these reports coming out that Zion's family is not happy with him and how he treated the players. You had to get rid of him. You had to, if Zion Williamson and his family are unhappy, then that's paramount. So that had to happen. As regard to the Mavericks, first Donnie Nelson, the general manager who had been with the team for over 2 decades, he's gone, and then Rick Carlisle steps down with 2 years left on his contract. I think both those guys will be Mavericks legends. If anything, only for the 2011 title that they won, the only title in franchise history. So they're basically like gutting the organization hierarchy. Mark Cuban is going to be filling a lot of positions. I think it's kind of like a obvious move that the greatest player to wear Mavericks uniform, Dirk Nowitzki, is going to be consulting with them. And that I like that he's not like automatically going to be like the head coach or the GM, because I feel like that's just like you're just asking for trouble. But I think
let
that's
him
a
get
good.
his feet wet a little bit
Yeah, I think that's a good
before he.
role for him, like
Yeah.
special advisor. He'd been at Mavericks games and all that anyway. So Luka Doncic is the number one person to keep in mind, obviously, and keep him happy. He's still probably going to sign the super max extension, but Dallas, I think they're feeling like they underachieved a little bit. This is back-to-back years they've been eliminated in the first round by the Clippers, and this is also especially after they had a 2-0 lead on the Clippers this year. So yeah, I think they just need a new voice and all that. So I still am pretty surprised. And then Washington, I think a lot of people saw this coming. Like, yeah, Scott Brooks is probably not going to be back, especially because this is the end of his contract. The Wizards did make an incredible push in the second half of the season, but they got off to too slow of a start, and there wasn't enough wins and losses to make it worth it for him to bring him back. So I could see Scott Brooks getting another job, and just like I think Rick Carlisle will too. So, and now you're starting to see this interview process. Portland, they're in the midst of interviews. Chauncey Billups and Becky Hammond are getting second interviews from Portland. The Celtics are going to be looking for a new head coach. They're already underway at that. So head coaching carousel is underway.
Yep. Exciting.
So we got that going on. And then, of course, a big trade happening recently. It's an odd timing for a trade of this magnitude, but the Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder coming to terms with a deal. Brad Stevens, now the head of basketball operations, this is his first trade, and he's trading Kemba Walker to Oklahoma City. Kemba Walker, the 16th pick in this upcoming draft, the 2025 second round pick that they own. All those going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They, in exchange, receive Al Horford, who's coming back to the Celtics, Moses Brown, a young center, and a 2023 second round pick. And now yet another first round pick for Oklahoma City. I believe they have 5 first round picks this year or something ridiculous like that, or 4 first round picks. We'd be here all day if I was to list out all the first round picks they have. So, Robbie, what are your takeaways from this trade? Do you see an obvious winner here, an obvious loser?
Well, you got OKC basically trading for players that are currently 12 years old. Because they got first round draft picks all the way to 2026. They got 3 in 2026 on top of having multiple draft picks in every year all the way back to this year. So, you know, that's definitely a win for them. But I don't think Boston really lost this trade either because, I like Al Horford. I like how his fit in there. And I liked Kemba Walker too. I think he fit well with the Celtics, but you know, they also have Pritchard. I can't remember his first name.
Yeah,
right now.
Peyton Pritchard.
Peyton Pritchard. Who's a young talent. Who's stepped up quite a few times for the Celtics throughout the season here, and so I think I'd have to give a slight edge to OKC just because of the sheer number of first round draft picks that they've managed to acquire, not just in this trade, but just in everything else too. So, and this is just a part of that. So, slight edge to OKC, but basically a win-win for both organizations, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the fact that the Celtics had to give up the 16th pick in the draft to move Walker, that's saying something of how Walker's trade value has deteriorated. Oklahoma City is very good at acquiring a veteran and building up their trade value again. That's what they did with Chris Paul. He had a really good year that one year, and they flipped him to Phoenix, and they got a nice haul out of that. So I could see something similar happening with Kemba Walker, or if they make that trade in the offseason before he even plays a game with Oklahoma City. I think this is a really good trade for the Celtics. First of all, Al Horford, his contract is not fully guaranteed after this upcoming season, so they can save a lot of money there. His contract is already like $10 million annually lower than Kemba's, so they're saving money. Horford is a better position of need. They have a fleet of young guards who they're hoping one of them hits. They have Pritchard, like you mentioned. They have Romeo Langford. They have Aaron Nesmith. They have guys who they're hoping will develop into something. And they needed a more consistent big. I think Moses Brown, Oklahoma City had just signed him to a contract extension, very team-friendly contract extension. I'm surprised that they're moving him. But I mean, I think that's a really good get for Boston. They're addressing their biggest weakness, which was their front court, and they have a veteran who they trust in Al Horford, and they have a young guy in Moses Brown who could, I guess, develop into like a good, rotation piece and all that. So I really like where Boston is going with this. The 16th pick in the draft is obviously something substantial that they had to give up, but I think it's worth it. And I think you're going to have a lot of money committed to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in the near future. So you're going to need to have a couple of young guys like Moses Brown.
Yeah, definitely.
So
can't argue with that.
So we'll see what happens with Tristan Thompson. He's got 1 year left on his contract in Boston. I'm very interested to see what happens there. If Boston's ready to move on after just one season with him, I think Boston. I think they're well positioned, and they're going to miss Kemba's production. Obviously, it's not like Kemba's a scrub. He was still averaging like 19 points a game or something like that. But we shall see how that works out. Now the NBA playoffs, Eastern and Western Conference Finals. We've got the Eastern Conference Finals tipping off soon between the Atlanta Hawks and the Milwaukee Bucks, just like everybody predicted, right? Hawks, Bucks, everybody saw this coming in the Eastern Conference Finals, right?
It's never felt so good to be wrong. Those two Game 7s, I was completely rooting against the picks that I made, and I was very ecstatic while watching both of those games. I mean, I think that Bucks-Nets game might have been one of the top 10, if not top 5, maybe number 1 basketball game I've ever seen.
It was amazing.
Coming down to a toe on the line.
Yep.
I mean,
and overtime Game 7, like That's ridiculous. It's like it
Yeah.
hadn't happened in like 15 years.
Yep. It was great, I was screaming at the TV. You ever seen The Big Lebowski,
Of
the
course.
movie? Where where Smokey steps over the line and Walter gets really
Yeah.
serious about it and
Yep.
whips his gun out over the
Yep.
line. Yeah, I was screaming that at the TV when Kevin Durant had his toe on there, because the second he shot it, before they said anything, I was like, "Over the line," and then they said it, and I was like, "Oh," it's like somebody hit the button at, Buffalo Wild
Yep.
Wings.
That's a great callback. Yeah, I couldn't really believe what I was seeing. It was every time I thought Brooklyn had it, Milwaukee just hit another shot or got a stop, and then I thought Milwaukee would like really pull away, and then the Nets would be right there. Durant hit that crazy shot. I mean, the margin for error in that game was so small, and then
Yeah, I don't think anybody had a lead greater than 5, like, the
just
whole game.
something like that. And on the other side, we had a game 7 in Philadelphia where the Sixers fell to the Hawks, and I think a lot of people are not, it's a reality check for what the Sixers are, how heavily Joel Embiid has really been carrying that franchise. Everybody's gonna be spending all offseason coming up with ways to get Ben Simmons out of Philadelphia because he shot the ball a total of like 3 times during the fourth quarter during the series. So there's going to be a lot of question marks with Philadelphia, but got to give some respect to the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, they fired their head coach partway through the season. Nate McMillan somehow still has the interim tag. They need to get rid of that interim tag. Like, what are they doing? Like, they got him. He finished
Yeah.
fifth. He finished fifth in head coach of the year voting, and he was an interim head coach. They won, I think, like from the moment he took over, they were like tied for the most wins in the NBA. Like, give the man a job, for crying out loud.
He's
Give
earned
him
it.
the full-time job. Like, who else are you going to give that job to? That's the only thing I'm upset about as it
Seriously.
regards to the Hawks. But they are coming. Like, the future is now. Like, they are 4 wins away from the NBA Finals, and it doesn't sound as ridiculous to think that they might make something out of this series.
Yeah, I'm hopping on that bandwagon 110%. I'll root for the Hawks until they go down, just because nobody expected them to get this far, and they're proving everybody wrong, and you gotta love it when some team kind of distorts the playing field, because we'll sit here and talk about who the best is all the time, and but then you got people like that coming in here, but I lost my train of thought. Not gonna
Trey
lie.
Young, I'll tell you what, Trey Young was extremely inefficient, and yet they still won that game. Their savior, Kevin Herter. If I was an NBA player, I would look just like Kevin Herter. Like, I'd be 6-7 drain shots. Like, it was an old school, slow paced game, and Kevin Herter was the hero. It wasn't an accident that he was the post game interview after that game. So there are a
Yeah,
lot of guys on the Hawks that are really gonna be problems for Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think, though, if you're the Bucks are the favorite, as they should be. But if they don't make the finals this year, there's going to be some real. I think Coach Bud, Mike Budenholzer might be shown the door. I was thinking if they lost that game 7 to the Nets, he would be shown the door. But the Bucks haven't won a title since, I believe, 1971 or 19 something like that, and the Hawks haven't won a title since 1958, back when they were the St. Louis Hawks. And so one of those franchises, which hasn't won a title in decades, is going to at least be going to the finals. On the other side of it, the Western Conference Finals, the Clippers had never even been in the conference finals, and the Phoenix Suns, neither of those teams have ever won a title. So there's going to be a star that's going to win their first championship this year. And like you said, Robbie, I've never been so happy to be so wrong. Like, there's so much uncertainty, especially when we're not far removed from the Cavs and Warriors going every year. I mean, I wasn't upset about it. I was a Cavs fan, but still am a Cavs fan. But like, it's pretty special to watch that we have all this uncertainty. And in the Western Conference, I mean, we've only seen game one so far as we're talking, but that was a great game. Even with Kawhi Leonard out, even with Chris Paul out, that the Clippers Jazz is really going to be, I think, another great series.
Oh yeah, especially with these announcers are having so much fun with the Terrence Mann puns.
Yeah, it's
Whenever
so
that guy does
easy.
something, there's a good joke thrown out there. Yeah, and they love it. They eat it up. They every time he does anything, they're
Yeah,
just I'm it's like getting a stand-up comedy special in the middle of a basketball game. I love it. And he really came out in the
39 points.
yeah,
39 points in the
yep.
game 6 clincher. That'll just be known as the Terrence Mann game.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, I turned on the game and I was like, "What's going on? Like what? Like, I've heard this guy before, but I mean, it's ringing a bell. But like, now I could recognize his face, because he put up 39 points. So I liked how
Yeah.
Paul George was. He was really humble after the game when they did a joint
Yeah.
interview, and he said, I just put in the work, and the thing you're supposed to say. And,
Yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
Paul George was like, "Yeah, I knew he had this in him. I'm glad to see him shooting. Heck yeah." So
Yeah,
that was kind of a cool moment to watch where you could tell Terrence Mann was like, "Oh, Paul George is
I thought you're
complimenting him."
referring to something I thought was like I don't remember who the sideline reporter was, but I didn't think it was a good question. Like, did you think he had this in him? Like, what is he supposed to say? Like, no, I had no idea. I thought he sucked. Like, what is he supposed to
Well,
say?
I don't know.
Like, what is he
All
supposed to
sideline
say?
questions are kinda like that, though. I mean, what
I
are you
feel like
supposed to
he
say
could have
to,
worked a little bit harder. I
90%
don't
of
know.
those?
I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
could have been a little bit more effort there. But I'm excited for this series. I'm really excited for the coaching matchup. Monty Williams in Phoenix and Ty Lue on the Clippers. Ty Lue should get a lot more credit now. I hope people are waking up to the fact that he's like actually a pretty good head coach. I mean, he made some great adjustments in helping the Cavs win the NBA title in 2016, and now here he is handling a great Clippers squad without Kawhi Leonard, uh, and they're still getting close in Game One. They got really close to beating Phoenix in Game One. They were down 0-2 in the first round and won. They were down 0-2 in the second round and won. He was down 3-1 in the finals and they won. If you're not giving this man the respect he deserves, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like he's the king of
Yeah.
adjustments. He's so comfortable saying, okay, what I originally had planned isn't working. Let's do something else. And that's why his team has had a lot of success. And then the other side, you have Monty Williams, who I thought should have been head coach of the year. I'm very excited to see the chess match between these two basketball minds.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said it a few times. I thought the vibes were off in LA, and they made me eat my words 110%, and I enjoyed watching every second of it. I mean, Reggie Jackson's been on fire.
Yep.
Terrence Mann stepping up. I mean, all the other players, besides Kawhi and Paul George are really just killing it and and they're playing really good team basketball. Like you said, it's the adjustments that he
Yeah.
makes these adjustments and you know, and then they come back. So I eat my words on hating on the Clippers the past few weeks.
Well, speaking of the Clippers, again, they're missing Kawhi Leonard, and apparently he had some kind of ACL injury. It's still not clear, like, if he's gonna come back, because I heard something that was like, oh, he might have a torn ACL, which would be really bad. But apparently he's like, he could still come back either in this series. He missed game one. He's going to miss game two, but the Clippers were still really good without him. I think the Clippers' chances of a title are very much lowered with him out, but he could come back. And then obviously Chris Paul, he's in COVID protocols. He missed game one. He's going to miss game two, although his return is probably going to be a lot sooner. I forgot that like Chris Paul and Kawhi Leonard weren't playing. That's how good game one was. And I think game
Yeah,
two should follow suit. But these absences are definitely going to impact each team.
definitely. I was shocked with Chris Paul ended up with COVID. That's the first person I've known of, any type of, major personality that has been vaccinated and also gotten COVID and, had to go through something like this. So that's kind of a little story in itself. But it's a shame that he couldn't, I knew that they said for certain he was going to miss game 1. They were hoping that the Clippers series went to game 7 so that he wouldn't miss game 1. But now, of course, he's missing game 2 as well. So that's rough. But, at least kind of for sure that he's going to come back. Whereas Kawhi, I mean, they're keeping it kind of secretive. It's like game to game. They're like, nah, he's not going to play this game. Nah, he's not going to play this. They're not saying how long he's actually for sure. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, hey, Chris Paul may not have been in the building, but Devin Booker dishing out, I believe it was 13 assists, his first ever triple-double, ever. Way to pick a time to have it, Devin Booker. Devin Booker and I share birthdays, so, his success is basically my success. Yeah. One more thing before we sign off. The NBA Draft Lottery. NBA Draft Lottery is going down tonight. Biggest day of the year if you're a Cavs and Pistons fan like the two of us are, Robbie. Cade Cunningham out of Oklahoma State, the prize of this year's lottery. I mean, is it an exaggeration to say this is our Super Bowl? This is the equivalent of our basketball Super Bowl? It was when Zion
go as far as my excitement for the Super Bowl, but I'm definitely I still remember Darko Milicic, the Pistons. That was a big pick. Yeah, that didn't. Hey, I can't remember who else was in that draft, but there are Hall of Famers that we passed up on.
2003.
And Darko Milicic was our cigar, our victory cigar. Every time he came out on the floor, everybody cheered because you knew the game was over because he was terrible.
He has an NBA title
in the midst of a championship team.
Darko Milicic.
Yeah, but he has an NBA title.
He won it as a rookie
on the bench the whole time. Yep.
I think out of the top 5 picks of that draft, Carmelo Anthony is the only one without an NBA title. So think about that. So yeah, the NBA Draft Lottery's tonight. Good luck to your Pistons. Good luck to my Cavs, and everybody else. Forget you. So yeah, this has been Know Your Balls. Robbie, you have any? I guess like another bad joke you got coming?
No, I don't. Well, actually, no. I'll give you one. What do you call a group of bears with no ears?
Earless bears. I don't know.
B.
Oh.
He's calling B.
Because the B ear. Yo. Well, this has been Know Your Balls. This is actually my last show. It's been a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun talking sports with you, Robbie. Gotta give a big thank you to our guy Jacob Stevenson, who's getting up early all the time to do these shows. Helping us behind the scenes, and obviously gotta give a big shout out to my guy AJ, who's been great to work with at Tonique, and I appreciate everything he's helped me with. Also got to give a thank you to Kate Guerrero, who's the top head honcho at Tonique. Thank you, Tim, as well. This has been a lot of fun, and maybe I'll stop by to if you need some Cleveland Browns takes or anything. I might pop in. I might pop in here and there. So that'd be cool. But this is my last time hosting. Been again, Robbie, been great to talk with you, and you definitely know your balls. So that's someone I can talk sports about. So thank you.
Yep, I've definitely enjoyed it too, Abby. Gonna miss you. Well, hopefully you come back.
Yes, sir. So again, shout out to Tell ABQ. Make sure you download the Tell ABQ app. Check out Tonique, latonique.news. The drill. Check out the socials. This has been All Your Balls. We'll see you next time.